Welcome to 2021. Happy New Year. I hope you are keeping safe wherever you are. Welcome to GBS TV. This is on Chungu Jamii. My name is Betty Akuku. I am your host today, and I am joined by a gentleman and a lady who are going to be taking us through a very important discussion for today. We are opening and we're getting back to school. There's a lot of concern and many issues pending. We do not know what to do, but I'm glad to have this gentleman and the lady who are going to be taking us through this. And so we're going to have a lot of light on whether we should or should not, and if we decide to go, what should we put in place? Welcome, gentlemen. Lady, kindly start by you introducing yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Grace Karaoke, and I'm a marriage and family therapist. Yeah.
Welcome, Grace. And the gentleman, I will start.
My name is Moses Wakono. I'm the Secretary General of an association of schools called UWASA Kenya. These are low-cost private schools. And I'm also a school owner. I'm a school director. I own 2 schools, the Excellence Schools, a primary and a secondary school, in Dagoretti, specifically in the core slums of Kawangware.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good to have you, Moses.
Thank you.
Yes. And my next guest?
Yeah, good morning. I am Francis Mwangi, and also I am a parent.
Wow. Good to have you guys. I am glad to have a school owner, a parent, and also a family therapist or a counseling psychologist. A lot of things are going on, Grace, right now, and people are getting back to school. We started getting back to school yesterday, and today there's lots of traffic. People are going back to school. But the parents who do not feel like they are ready to release their children to school because they do not agree that the government is actually prepared to have their children in school. I will start with you, Moses. What is the preparedness on the ground, not in the news, according to you, at your school?
Yes, the preparedness on the ground, thank you, Betty, it is not up to date. Talking on behalf of my school, we can say we have tried.
Okay.
But also being a representative of other schools in the larger Dagoretti sub-county, things on the ground are different with what is being said all over in the media. Because as you are well aware, many schools in the slum settings are sitting on rental premises. And specifically in Dagoretti and down the line in Kawangware, we only have 2 public primary schools. That is Kawangware Primary School and Katina Primary School. And we have the other one which gathers both for Dagoretti North and Dagoretti South, that is Muslim Primary School. They are already overflowing with children, even in the previous years. So now that we are reopening schools amid COVID, and most of the low-cost private schools, or so-called the half-paid schools, some of them folded already. Where are these children going?
Yes.
This morning in my school, it was overwhelming. We could not even, we have not begun the lessons as we speak now if someone was on the ground, because so many parents are seeking for admission vacancies. We were lucky we added 3 more classrooms and an open space, but actually we cannot accommodate all. So yes, it was almost like a crossroad, like children have to go back to school because they have overstayed home.
Yes.
And at the same time, where they are going, they are not going in a safe place.
They're not going in a safe place. I want to get to Mr. Mwangi, who is a parent in this discussion. Are you free and willing and comfortable to release your children back to school in this season as matters are on the ground?
Yes, thank you very much, Betty. As also we have heard from our teacher.
Yes.
Yes, so, and of course we know, how things are on the ground. there is no any preparedness. And so as a parent, because anyway, for our children, we are bringing them up when you are coordinating with the school, the teachers, and also we are working together so that we can see the growth and the well-up and the future of our kids.
Yes.
Yes, so also I may say that also the teachers also they are also parents, and also they can also feel that whatever. So then when we see we were with the kids for the last 9 months, and all along we tried our best so that they can be safe, they can be healthy, and we are thankful that we didn't have many cases if at all. But then when now they are going to school, now that is when the fear comes, because we are not sure we could have prepared for those 9 months, because this kind of pandemic, anyway, it is not by anyone's whatever will, but then also what have we prepared, and were we thinking about our kids going back to school, even though we have been preparing other things, but what about the kids, which are the future of our nation?
It's true. That's a very good question that we need to be asking our government, who is not here now, but we have a school owner. You know, schools were closed, and Mr. Mwangi has rightly put that for 9 months we had our children at home, trying to protect them and keep them from contacting the disease. And we gave you guys time because we knew and we had heard that schools would be opening somewhere in September, somewhere in January. So at least with that, there was chance to prepare. And I do not know really if you prepared in any way and what preparations were there for you to make. But before you get to my answer, I would probably get to Grace and just know. Grace, what do you see on the ground as a parent, you know, as a concerned parent who is looking forward to taking their children back to school? Parents have really had a difficult year. Some of them have lost their jobs. Some of them have had such a really difficult time even feeding their children. And so now the government says, take the children back to school. And some of them are like, whew, at last. You know, the budget is gonna go down a little bit. There's going to be less noise and all this. You know, there are those parents who are afraid to stay with their children because you don't know what they're doing in their space. They are better off in school than with you. We have had so many cases of things that happen even to our teenagers. Because there was no one to follow up, there was no safe space for them to be controlled. So now they're going back to school. What do you think is the feeling of the parent and even the students themselves?
Right. I would definitely look at it from a point of anxiety, because again, this is another change. We've never done this before. For 9 months, we kept the children at home. There is a new normal that we got into.
True.
And now we have another new normal to deal with. And so there is quite a bit of anxiety, the fear of the unknown. As a parent, sending my children to school, I've been keeping them in the house. We haven't even been going to church. You know, we are not exposing our kids to the public. And now, suddenly, we have to release them to go out. So as parents, I am sure there is a lot of anxiety, what will happen. Now, when COVID happened in March, there was a lot of information on what to do. Now, I haven't seen what they are telling us to do. now. We know that the kids, the schools are preparing for water, masks, and all that. But what about when they come back home from school? What are we are not, parents may be wondering, what am I supposed to do? Do we have a routine? The kids come, they take off their clothes from the door, they go, they take a bath. Are we even talking about that? So there is a normalization of COVID that has happened, where we may not be taking as much caution for the kids as they are coming back home. So as parents, there is also that concern. You know, how do we make sure that once the kids are home, that the home is continually kept safe? So there are so many questions. The kids are getting into public means of transport. They are getting into the buses. I was laughing because there was a tweet yesterday that a parent said, my child came back from school today, but they had a different mask from the one I gave. And they said, that's because I liked that one.
That's a very important point I was going to come to. And I would like to hear from Moses. You opened school, is it yesterday or today? Today. You know, those who have opened earlier, and I'm glad that you own both a primary and a high school. Try to imagine the little ones, you know, they'll be getting to school and all of a sudden, you know, people don't like their things. They like other people's things.
Yes, exactly.
So they will go to school and appear in a printed mask, and the other person has a plain one on a different color, and they'll be like, oh my God, look at mine. It's so cute. I like yours. And they will do an exchange. What is the, is it sustainable, this thing of wearing masks? Do we even need to? Are you asking parents to give masks? Or is the school providing masks? Which one do you think is going to work safely for the parents and the children?
Okay, in the meantime, like in my school, parents have to provide masks for their learners. But for the young ones, they have to come with one mask they are wearing, then two more that will be kept by the class teachers, especially for the young ones, so that in the event that this one gets lost, that actually they have to pay. It has to be replaced very quickly.
Replacement is not the issue.
Yes.
It can actually be replaced.
Yes.
But when you replace this one,
where
will the other one have gone to? To another child? Will it be exchanged or put somewhere to be picked later? Because children have been in the house not wearing masks. Remember, they have not been going to church, as Grace mentioned. They probably have not been going to the public places, not to the malls. And so the masks is a bit new to them to have it the whole learning time. And so they're going to feel so uncomfortable. And plus the issue of the ones who are less than 5. You know, the respiratory system is not so developed to have the mask on the whole time. How are you going to handle such things? And I'm glad that Mr. Mwangi is here listening on behalf of other parents, so you could make a choice. Yes.
But it is a challenge, so to say. But we have to bear with it going forward, because the government has already promulgated actually the schools have to be reopened. It issued the guidelines for the protocols of reopening schools and how it's supposed to be done, right from the entrance to the class, the temperature checks. Then at some point, these learners are supposed to be educated about the right way of putting on a mask. Like for us, in my school, we are lucky that we have put some posters and some signs of the right way, cancelling the wrong way of putting on a mask, and indicating the right way of putting on a mask. But as you said very well, the younger ones will be a challenge. To some point, they can top up their mask. But we have put the mitigation measures that this mask will have to be picked by our well-trained cleaners that will use the hand gloves, then pick them, and then use throw them in the petrol-driven bins. But that is only a one-case scenario, like in my school, whereby some facilities are available. But now speaking to the larger schools in Dagoretti, it is a challenge because some do not have even the posters right at the entrance. They don't have the hand wash stations right at the either they get. They don't have the fumigation guns or machines to fumigate the rails and the classes at the end of the day. That is where the challenge comes in real. And for that case, that is where when I said from the beginning that actually the government didn't prepare.
They did not prepare
very well.
It's true.
Yes.
It may not have been very well.
Yeah.
There may be minimal or zero. But Mr. Mwangi, when you think about taking your children back to school in such kind of a condition, I know for sure you are so uncomfortable, but you are not a teacher. You do not have the curriculum. And so for that reason, then you just have to take your children to school, because if you don't, you are the loser and they are the loser. They remain behind. I don't know if you mind your children staying away from school another extra year, another extra term, just to be safe.
Okay, if on my side, because anyway, what is the issue here? 9 months without preparing. So there was expectation on the other side.
Yes.
On the side of the government, on the side of the school.
Yes.
I know that on the side of the school also they were waiting instructions from the government.
True.
Yeah. But also as a parents, because you know this thing came. But now, without any preparedness, it's like it's like some water which was just like, it was like, yeah, we had a lockdown, isn't it? You should know also these are lockdown not only outwardly, even it was lockdown in the minds of the kids.
I know.
And now when they are released, they are going now to school. Also they have been missing also meeting their friends in school. They have been missing also learning.
Yeah.
But then how can they be controlled? Yeah. It's like we have opened without any preparedness. We don't care where the kids are going. That is my whatever, my fear. Yeah. Because
I hear you as a parent.
If okay, I want my kids to learn.
I know.
Isn't it? But then our kids, you know, they are, you know, they should be in the safe hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a government, I think should put more and invest on the kids, on the youths. But I don't see this kind of thing.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. They have done really minimal. Grace, think about the finances. You know, parents, like I mentioned earlier, have really been hard hit economically and financially. But now, when I listen to Moses, all those measures they're putting in place for even parents to be attracted or to try such kind of a school is because they have to do a lot of input financially. And this financial input has probably to come from Mr. Mwangi and other parents, you know. And these parents have no work right now. They are struggling to barely put food on the table. They have not been recalled to work, you know. And now some of them have doubled school fees, and they are not keeping the social distancing that the government requires. Some of them are again so greedy, and they want just more money and provide the same conditions, not better, not improved. So they're supposed to have just a few students in class, but now they're even having more intake, you know. They're not going to keep social distancing at all. Their school buses, children are squashed together in one bus. You're paying double, but not getting the services you are paying for. You know, think about the financial implications on the parent at this time.
Right, and that is the reality on the ground, unfortunately. So there is again a lot of unknowns. We don't even know how long this is going to be sustainable. Are we looking at a situation where schools will be open for 2-3 weeks or a month, and then they shut down, and parents have spent a lot of money to buy uniforms, to buy supplies, to pay for fees, and then suddenly, you know, the system again comes crumbling down.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of unknown, and what I can say is that this is the time that people call on to their inner ability to manage change. The resilience becomes such a need for us. Our hope and faith in the abilities we have to manage any kind of crisis that we go through. If we managed March 20th, then we can manage January 4th.
We have built the resilience.
We have built the resilience. That does not mean that we are not anxious. It doesn't mean that we don't feel hopeless and helpless. We will feel all of those things.
Yeah.
What we need to do as parents and as teachers and as adults is to make sure that our kids are not getting our cues of anxiety, that we are reassuring them, that we are doing what we need to do. I agree, the government hasn't, but hey, let's not ask what can the government do. Let us take responsibility for your own household. You can imagine if I take care of my own household as much as we can, we won't be able to fix everything. We will be able to do what I can. The serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to
accept the
things I can't change, but to have the courage to do the things that I can, or to identify the things that I can. And so myself, I'm a parent. Mr. Mwangi is a parent. I'm sure you are a parent. We are all parents.
True.
And we will need to take personal responsibility first and foremost. We need to be able to look at the reality of our situation. We also need to understand, if I cannot be able to get my kids back to school because of one reason or another, let's problem solve. What have we been doing for 9 months? Let's problem solve. We want our children to learn. Let's problem solve about what are the other options that we have, so that we do not feel panicky and we are just doing things out of panic. So the financial situation right now is very tough on parents. I was glad to see that I heard on the news. See, we hear these things being spoken about on the news. How real they are is yet to be seen, because I heard that no child should be sent away because of lack of fees. And we are talking about, when we are looking at what is on the news, is really a very small part. Right now, we know that there are schools in the rural areas where they cannot even afford water. There is no water.
And that should be the first thing you find when you enter the school.
Exactly.
They don't even have sanitizers. They are not even able to afford masks.
Yes.
And I think actually that the schools should provide masks, because even to curb the issue of the little ones coming back with somebody's mask, you know, it's just because yours is pink and mine is blue, another person has yellow and green. But if they all were given white or blue masks, then nobody feels strange, nobody wants to try the other person's. This is why I feel it is the schools, it should be the school's responsibility. But Mr. Moses, when I get back to you, you mentioned that at your school right now, you are actually overwhelmed. You don't know what to do because of the number of students and parents that are flooding in your school. And so things are actually moving at a snail pace. But let's talk about the schools that are not reopening because of those challenges. And now the parents who are there have to transfer their children. Where are they supposed to go to? Yet, even for you who is able, you have no enough space to accommodate your previous and former students.
Thank you, Betty. First, let me echo what Madam has said about each one of us has to take responsibility, and that nobody should transfer the blame to the other person. Because when you own a child, it's yours, isn't it? And if you don't provide according to the needs that he or she wants, then absolutely you are shirking your responsibility as a parent. And obviously, even the law can come for you. Having said that, now that some parents cannot be, some schools cannot be able to accommodate the learners because they have not prepared well, they have not set aside what is required as a minimum standard for reopening a school, because the protocols were given by the Minister of Education and Health, I think some month back. So, and each and every school owner and head teacher was supposed to go through the protocols and start preparing for them. So, but the scenario that is very tricky here is now transferring a child from one school to another, because you are not very sure where you are going, if there is space, if there is space.
Yes.
But it's still those ones who are already coming, like for example in my school, they don't care if there is space or no, or not, because they want their children to be safe, because quote unquote maybe they have heard, that actually maybe this will be a safe space for them. But now the challenge is, again, if you overcrowd them too much, then now there will be challenges, there will be risks.
So are you talking about overcrowding or even crowding? Because even crowding is not allowed.
Even crowding, both crowding and overcrowding is a challenge at the same time. Now, what, as you said, should be a priority. The government should have thought of that. So do the school owners for the private schools. The private schools who are in the medium levels, they have tried to make sure that they are prepared well. And I can't speak for Kenya Private Schools Association, but actually most of the schools which are medium were ready for reopening, despite the fact the challenges which were enormous to everyone all over. But the low-cost private schools, as I say, those ones who are in rental premises, some of them have folded. They can't be able to reopen. Those who have reopened still are under enormous challenges because they cannot afford even to have water around their entry points. And you cannot allow, like the CS Education said very well, you cannot allow a 10-year-old child carrying a 5-jerrycan sanitizer to school to use just for himself or herself. It will be very risky. So water becomes the safe thing, because if water is available, this child can easily wash his hands or her hands with soap, then that is it. And then I think he said, if you cannot afford the liquid soap, you can even buy the bar soap. Because in the beginning, let me just go back, Betty. When COVID struck in March, they said even you touch soap the one someone has used, and then is infected, you will get COVID, But now things are turning that soap is almost a medicine of COVID. So which means if we share a bar soap, we shall be safe, I presume so. We shall be safe. So water should be a priority. And I think the government should have come in to help, because it can't do all things. The government cannot do all things for everyone, even the private individuals, so to say. But it could have gone for the poorest child. The CS mentioned very well about the poor child being reached by masks, but now they didn't reach the ground to make sure that water is available for all. How could that be realized? By just asking the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company to subsidize their rates first, and then also increase the availability of water, mainly in the slums, like Kibera, like Kawangware, like Korokosho, like Kangemi. These are the areas which the government could have thought to come in to cushion the general population for the sake of the schools. Because when you cushion the general population, the beneficiary, the end beneficiary, will be a child who will be going to these schools.
I hear you. Mr. Mwangi, what's your take on all the load that is put on the parents, hearing Grace saying that it is not time for us to go on the street and say haki yetu, serikali saidia, you should have done this, you should have done that. And we are still here. If you don't take our children to school, we are still the sufferers and they are still the losers. When you look at parents generally, how far are they willing to stretch to pay the double school fees, to buy the mask? Some of them are having to make uniforms because the children have, have become too big. So there's a lot. How far are the parents willing to stretch?
You see, this challenge has come, and we must embrace the new normal. But there is somewhere where is wrong again. Yeah, it's not about the government. Of course, the government, at the end of the day, it is the government. Why? Because me as a parent, I cannot take my kids to school when I want and according to my preparedness. The same to the school, to the teachers, isn't it? So then, the government is at the center. And then it's not about the government that should do something to come and help. Yeah. So, but then again, my question is, for the 9 months, isn't it? For the 9 months. Because, yes, we have solutions.
Yes,
There is a solution.
True.
But what did someone do for the 9 months? Because when we are sitting here in this whatever, we have the teacher.
Yes.
I'm here as a parent.
Yes.
Also, in your profession, and isn't it? Then, now the kids, they are there, and we cannot be able to control them. I'm sorry to speak about this.
Yes.
For example, we have those kids which are they are day scholars. They are just walking on foot to school. But then they are going to meet others in school, and we don't know on the way when they are coming back or whatever they are going at school. But then we have the cases which they are using buses, for example. In those buses, can they keep social distance?
No.
And the way some other schools they have crossed, isn't it? They have transferred, they have gone to, because parents, they want their kids to go back to school to be educated. Because, my kid even cannot, I cannot bear and to hold my kid when other kids, they can see even, they are going to school. Then they will ask, Father, why am I not going to school like others?
Yes.
You see there. So there is taking the advantage, you see here, and risking the kid. Taking the advantage and risking the kid while there was room to solve this problem. But then you cannot say that, see here, let's say in his house, in my house I have bed bag. In your house you have bed bags.
Yes.
We must meet. You cannot say that you have cleared the bed bags in your house and then you are free. Why?
You're still going to his house.
We must come together. The problem is, so we should not be offering, just issuing instructions without solution. You see now, it has flooded. It has flooded. Then what are we going to, when it has flooded, what are we going to get? It is drowning and other things. But then we cannot say that now we are going to solve the problems when people are going to go and save the one who is drowning. Why should we do that when we had time to solve the problem before one goes to sink?
True.
And then the thing is, where did people or organization call first? Now, let's call this meeting together, both the parents, the school, and the government, and everyone who is concerned. Was there such kind of a forum? Then what is the way forward? And from there, we could have gotten the solution. But me as a parent, it's not to say that, the government should do this. It's not about that. All of us, we are citizens. We are the ones who are building this nation.
True.
Isn't it? But then, if we were called together, even we could have thought, even if we could not have that enough money, because this whatever could hit everyone, isn't it? Yeah. Then we could have thought about even bringing up a tent. But then now the class has, it's so much squeezed, but no one is thinking even about a tent.
I like the way
then we are saying that we go under the trees, and then we are going to rainy season. Even this is a challenge to you, teacher, isn't it?
Sure.
What do you think about that?
You know.
In fact, even in Nairobi, there may be no trees in the schools for the children to shelter. And even the weather, without rain, sometimes it's so unbearable. It's not conducive for the children and even the teachers. We need to take a break. I like the way the parent in this forum has really vented. I wish Mr. Magoha was here to just hear it again and get back to the 9 months and do an evaluation. What did we do? But before we get back to that, let's take a break. We are coming back short talking about reopening of schools amid COVID. Stay with us.
My name is Tigist Hailu.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ruben West
I'm Dr. Charles Mukuka
from the United States of America.
I come from Ethiopia.
from Zambia.
I love Kenya very much.
I love the Kenyan people.
Love is not by confession. Love is by action.
Come on now.
When you are a husband, you are not a husband.
It's very important.
You can count the seeds in an apple, but you can never count the number of apples in a seed.
Her phone is her phone. My phone is my phone.
You only know what you know.
Who forced you?
The more you spend time together, the more stronger.
A woman is like a Bible.
To tell me that they were born and it wasn't from a female, I'd like to know.
A woman, she's a good asset. And a woman, she's a very, very good investment.
Some companies, they didn't. So yeah, we come back.
Welcome back. We are talking about back to school amidst COVID. So I have a parent, I have a psychologist, and I also have a school owner. A lot of heat is coming to you, Moses, as the school owner, because now you stand like, you know, the one everyone is seeking solutions from, since you could not get them from our education ministry. Think about the teachers that you have. There are those that are 58 years and above. I don't know whether they have lost their jobs or you're still keeping them because of age and because of luck. You know, according to their age, they're not supposed to be with our children, teaching them in school. What are you doing about that? Do you have to recruit? It's true, people have lost jobs, and maybe even those ones that you have are going to lose. But some of them are very good teachers. What are you planning to do about that?
Thank you, Betty. So, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have a teacher who is above 58.
Yes, but we have in many schools.
But I have in many schools
Yes.
in my neighborhood. So most of them are still pondering on whether they have to report to school or not. But the solution is, if the school is spacious enough, they have to report, but they will be given an open space to operate from, which is also a challenge because they will feel they have been discriminated now, because they will be stigmatized because they are not now sitting the way they used to sit in the old normal. Now, also, there might become a thought of actually recruiting young and vibrant teachers, simply because of avoiding the risks that come thereof. That you have a teacher who is 58 years and above, you keep him around, then he loses his life, God forbid, in the course of the execution of his duty. Now the blame will come to you, the blame from the family will come to you, that actually, why could we not have made him to stay at home?
Yes.
At the same time, you need him to work, because they have stayed home for a long time a bit, so they need to come and work and then get something for their family. So that is where we get into a catch-22 scenario, that what exactly should you do? But there is only the wisdom and the grace.
The wisdom and the grace. Grace, coming into such kind of a scenario that you have with us right now, you know, there are those parents that are really concerned about such. I want to get to online classes. We are at the time of giving solutions. You know, what can we now do to solve this? We have realized the government may not help us much at this time. We have to get up and do something substantial, something profitable for us and our children. The children who have been back home but doing online classes, you know, and now they are reopening. The parents were so concerned and they were able to get the gadgets and the means. There is the thoughts of them having to repeat classes. I don't know, Mr. Moses will tell us that in a bit, and also Mwangi will tell us that in a bit. What he feels, you know, he has invested, he paid the teachers online, he bought the gadgets, he installed Wi-Fi, and students have been learning. But now they get back to school, and then you're told, when we left, you are in grade 5, and you're back to grade 5. You hurried to finish the whole year, but that is not recognized. What would you tell to such parents and students? Because I know it is not a good feeling and good news to them.
Absolutely. And I believe what we need to do is to change the narrative, because first of all, we change the narrative that we are repeating. So we are catching up. We are correcting what we lost. So instead of, because of course now when you use the word repeating, the child goes into that space of you know, the space of feeling like I am being punished for something that wasn't my fault. So the language we use around the children should be different.
It will be different when we know that this may actually affect them. But changing the narrative and the reality and the fact that is already there. Because they have already done the whole year's work. They were hurrying to do the whole year's work. Whether we change the narrative, but they get back to class and they're having to redo the same things.
Then that I would throw back to the teachers. You know, each school will have to evaluate. If I was doing that, and again, I'm not an educator, so I don't know how the system works. But what I would do, I would actually test the students, and we see where they are. Because if it is true that the schools have been offering online teaching during the year on and off, then it would be better for them to, when the kids come back to school, let's do some entry exam and see where they are, and then we kind of catch up instead of going back to the reason why I say change the narrative is because I don't know what percentage of our 6 million kids who have gone back to school actually continued learning after the closure. I don't know. So I would imagine, and probably you can answer that better than I can. However, the other thing that I want to say here is that unfortunately, for our country, we tend to thrive on crises. We bury our head in the sand, and then suddenly here is January 4th, and we are running helter-skelter, trying to fix the problems that could have been anticipated and fixed. And I think this has something to do with our problem-solving skills, that we don't anticipate problems. And unfortunately, we tend to kind of throw the ball either to the government or to God, that God is going to help us through. Now, the truth of the matter is this. We know that we are a very resilient nation. We will go through the fire, and by March this year, we will be in another space, probably another crisis. And it seems like even though we don't have the skills to manage to prepare for a crisis, we tend to be able to go through it and come over the other side, and we are able to continue with life.
We have learned risk management strangely. Strangely.
So in other words, what I would want to say is that at this point, even listening to Mr. Mwangi as he speaks so passionately as a parent, I want to say that at times like this is where we call on to our higher authority, which is God. We all believe that nothing happens to us that God hasn't already seen and will not give us what we need to do it. Now, the reason why I bring that up as a mental health way of dealing with crisis is to have hope, because hope is what now builds resilience. And we know resilience is what we need to be able to adapt in life. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to overcome. Then we have a big population of people who are suffering from mental health challenges. So and that is why when we started off with COVID, by the time June, July was coming around, issues of domestic violence and abuse of children and all that rose because people were not able to quickly adopt to the change that had happened. And so from an emotional, psychological, and mental health point of view, we need to understand that we have been through worse. And so we made it, and we are going to make it through this.
We are going to make it.
Slowly but surely.
Truly. Mr. Mwangi, when we look at the bigger population of children, it may be true that only a small percentage have been able to go through online classes. And even if a school was offering online classes for its students, not all parents were able to get to it because they did not have the gadgets, they did not have Wi-Fi. So just a portion of the parents were able to come to that level. And now, if your neighbors were with your children in the same class, so your children now need to go to the next level and theirs need to stay. What have you thought about if that is your scenario and even of other parents? Are you going to allow the school to let your children go to the next level, or are you going to allow them to redo the work you invested in during the 9 months?
Yeah, so Betty, again, you are taking me back to, I'm not blaming the government. I'm not blaming the government, but you see, in every nation we are governed by the law.
Yes.
I cannot do my own things however I want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those who are able, they can do, but if they want to do according to what they want, then they should, they take their kids abroad. And also, which abroad is that now? Because everywhere, isn't it? Yeah. So now, the thing is, you know, as a parent, whether I like it or not, is like I am forced to something which, even if I'm comfortable, even if I'm comfortable or not comfortable, then I'm forced. Then I am left without any option, even risking my kids, isn't it? Yes. So this means what? What I want to say again is that there is a solution. I'm sorry. There is a solution.
Yes.
But the problem is, like, let me give one example, like the example of Dubai, isn't it? Then why is Dubai developed and it is in a desert? It is because one leader, is because of leadership. One leader in that, whatever, then he called the experts from every corner of the continent. They came. They provided their mind. You know, when I am alone, you know, I am limited to my skills, also my thinking, also my mind. But when we come together, then we have a solution. Instead of risking our kids, the question is, then I am asking, what is first? Is it education or health? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Very important.
Is it education or health? Which is first? Isn't it? Yeah, which is first? This is what we could have thought from the beginning. Yeah. Because now it is all, even if we are trying, you know, we cannot say that our Kenya, we have been doing like, then we are rushing at the rush and then we solve those. No. Even God has, you know, when we come to this, God has given, where can we get the wisdom? We get the wisdom from God. Yeah. But sometimes we need, we bring God and it's like we are tempting God. Isn't it? Yeah.
We lack some order.
Yeah, because if you are in that position of that kid, for example, could you accept? It's only the kids we tell them, go to school. But if you're in that position of a kid, can you accept and go and, you know, and then squeeze over there? Can you accept yourself?
And you cannot actually do that. Moses, I was expecting to get a very important answer from you on the issue of online classes. We are unfortunately out of time, but even with that, you could give us that in your parting shot. But look at the entire scenario. What solution do you have? You know, you could be just down here, but you have an advice for the government. You know, the people who are called to sit around and tell the government, let's do this and this. And probably you have done that in your assessment and you have seen they should have also brought about this and that. Is there a solution that now after reopening, you can see that we should go this direction? What advice do you have for your fellow school owners, for schools that are struggling, the ones that have opened and they do not have the space to do the 1.5 meter social distancing? They do not have the water. Is your advice something like, buy water, increase the school fees, buy sanitizers? What's your advice?
Thank you. Let me talk about the online. If a child was on online classes for the last 7 or so months, that child remains to have only handled term 1 according to the government curriculum 2020. As we have reopened this week we are opening for second term. So by any chance a child who had gone ahead online and covered the whole year syllabus of 2020, even if this child transits to the next class, there will be some embedment in the future because of the way the new calendar has been done. For example, the grade 4, when they will be sitting for their national assessment exam to transit to grade 5 in CBC, they will have to stay home in April, May, and June, 3 months again, grade 4. Then they will transit to grade 5 in July. So, which means a child who was, for example, in class 5 and went through the online classes and covered the whole year syllabus of 2020, now this week coming to class 6, will again have a problem in the future when now the calendar will normalize in 2023.
So in short, you're telling us that even the online did not help
It
much.
didn't help, they only have an advantage
Yeah. But they
ahead
did
of
not get
others
them to get
to
to the
the
next
classes.
level.
However, some parents who are able bit and their kids went through the online classes, they have transferred them to international schools.
Okay, okay. Thank God for international schools.
Yes.
What's your advice? What do we do? Do we all take our children to international schools for those who can afford? Do the schools double the school fees for parents? Do the schools or the government come up with a different curriculum or study system that is able to accommodate these children even back at home, like there's homeschooling? What is the solution that you can give at this point? In
That
less
is a
than
big
minute?
question.
Yes.
They have to have their way. They have notes to be listened to. Why do I say so? Simply because we cannot all transit to the national schools
Okay.
and leave the citizens who are also enshrined in the Constitution and are covered by the Education Act of the country.
Unfortunately, we have to end our discussion here. It is such a pity for the parents who are not able to afford the international schools or even take the children to where we have the spacious schools. I wish that education was such an important thing in this government, then they will provide all the basics that are needed. They will take it so seriously. And I hope that this has actually been taken into consideration. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We are out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much, Grace, for coming. Thank you, viewer, for watching this episode. I hope that you have had a time to learn and know where we are at and what is expected of us. My name is Betty. I have been your host. See you next time.